While 7,000 school children in the Pandai district continue to slam it hard on the floor because of a lack of furniture.
When they give us class exercise, I'll squat and write. So my knees they will get sore. So I want the government to give us some furniture so that we can sit on them, so that all these things will not happen to me again.
The man they hope will turn their fortunes around has this to say.
Recently I saw some TV programming. They were talking about Ghana's school of shame. Because of all the great things happening in the country, we want to focus on the negative and get the world to know that there are negative things in Ghana.
Also in this bulletin, hundreds of second-hand electrical dealers fight government over a possible ban on importation of used electrical appliances in the country. Details as they close their shops to register their displeasure. Also, deep cracks within the opposition NDC front in Parliament, with at least 60 minority MPs asking its leadership to overturn decision to change Haruna Idrisu and 2 others from the minority leadership. We have details as party leadership prepare to hold what it will in all likelihood be a rank-cross caucus meeting with the NDC MPs. This is Joy News Prime with me, Samuel Kojo. Over the next 60 minutes, I will be your host. Now, while 7,000 school children in the Pandai district featured in our Schools of Shame series continue to slam it hard on the floor because of lack of furniture, Ghana's Education Minister, Dr. Yaw Sedichum, has questioned why the plight and struggles of the rural poor people is being published. This follows the airing of two out of the 4-part Schools of Shame series put together by Joy News. Watch excerpt of what Jojo Kobna and the team found in Pandai.
We are not sparing any efforts to make education in Ghana of the best quality and fit for the needs of the 21st century. Poverty should not be an excuse for any Ghanaian child not to reach their full potential.
The subjects and the what? The dates, okay?
Bashiru Nuruddin speaks for about 7,000 children without desk in the Pandai district.
What is disturbing us is we don't have furniture. Sometimes when we are coming to school, we feel bored. We don't even feel to come to school because we don't have furniture. If we dress and come to school, you come and sit on the floor, your things will be dirty. So we are begging the government to give us chairs.
Every morning, these children carry stools and plastic chairs on their heads and head to school. Many of these children have walked several kilometers just to access school. Their school, Balai DA Primary School in the Pandai district of the Northern Region, has no furniture, so their parents bought plastic chairs for them. Today is very important to these pupils. They have to write the end of their 3rd term examinations. This examination is critical for them as it will determine whether they will be promoted to the next class or not. To avoid being late, some ride their bicycles hurriedly to school. Those who are fortunate settle in their chairs, but the majority of them go down on their knees, not as a form of worship, but to write exams. Those with plastic chairs put their exam papers on their lap and write, while others kneel and put their exams papers on their chairs. With time, tiredness sets in, and many who were sitting on the bare floor start to kneel. As time progresses, some change their positions and then lie on their bellies and begin to write. The Harmattan strong winds blow dust into the classrooms and settles on the children on the floor. 3 pupils sit on a bench. They face different directions while they continue writing the examinations. It is therefore impossible for these pupils to do independent work without copying or engaging in examination malpractice. Exams papers become dirty, school uniforms also become dirty. Nuruddin is not happy that they bathe and wear clean uniforms, only for them to sit on the dirty bare floor.
When we come and sit on the floor, our things will be dirty. The next day, when you go home, you would like to wash your things, but your parents will not agree for you to wash the things because the soap is now, all things are now critical. You don't have money to buy soap. Every day when you come to school, you go and you want to wash your things. Your parents will not agree.
Some of them, they come to school, they lie down, within some few days, their uniforms are dirty. Some of them, they can't even concentrate well. Imagine you lying on the floor and writing. You can't concentrate, and more to the point, those who are at the back, those who have the plastic chairs, they always come and take the front classroom, or maybe the front seat. And those who are lying at the back, they have to be at the back. And imagine this is a challenge for them.
Nuruddin's concern is corroborated by another student.
My name is Njoti Alice. I am in class 6. I want to be a lady. I want to be a nurse. When we are writing examination like this, we kneel on floor and write exams. After I finish writing, your paper will get dirty. If you went home and you want to take soap, your parents doesn't allow you to take it. They will say every time you wash your uniform, and we say now soap are now expensive.
So you heard the plea of some of these children, plus the district education officer for Pandai crying for help, saying the situation is critical. Now, the education minister, Dr. Yao Seiduchum, has been responding to the Joy News findings. Watch.
Ministry of Education, we believe that the better days of our nation, Ghana, is ahead of us and not behind us. Recently, I saw some TV programming. They were talking about Ghana's school of shame, and I was ashamed. Because of all the great things happening in the country, we want to focus on the negative and get the world to know that there are negative things in Ghana. Can you look straight in the eye of these children and tell me they are coming from schools of shame? They are coming from schools of fame. They're going to change the story of Ghana. These young men and women has a fierce determination and is palpable when you get close to them. They want to change the face of this country. What we couldn't do, they are going to do it. All that we need to do is to let them know that yes, there are challenges in the country, but we should shine a spotlight on these great things that we are doing. And if we can take a cue, we should rather do a program that highlight these young men and women and tell the world that Ghana is moving in spite of the challenges.
So that is Ghana's Minister for Education, Dr. Yao Seiduchum there. Now, I've been joined in the studio by Honorable Samuel Kojo. He is Member of Parliament for North Tongue, and he's been there before. He's been Ghana's former Deputy Minister of Education. Now, you had your colleague there. How do you feel after listening to him?
I have to be honest with you, very disappointed. I mean, a certain arrogance of power which should not be exhibited. The Honorable Minister for Education should reflect, and I'm sure that after reflection he will come back and he would not be proud of how he spoke. Joy must be commended for this series which you call Ghana Schools of Shame. And really, it is a most appropriate title. These schools represent our collective shame. All of us in leadership must be embarrassed. And you see, ministers don't tell journalists what they should cover, what they should focus on. When you are doing your positive program where he was speaking, you went to cover. You didn't say you would not go cover that. But when you decide, by way of editorial discretion, that you are going to also highlight the ills, the challenges, the shortcomings, it should not be condemned and it should not be dismissed. So that arrogance of power would not help us. And it means that the minister is therefore not going to take action. What I expected to hear from the minister is that this is what we have outlined. This is our program. We have taken note. We have put together a database of the number of schools we have in this country without furniture. These are the plans. By 2 years, 3 years, we are going to clear the backlog and we are going to address this very, very quickly. And we've secured funding, we've ordered, we've procured. This is how we are going about it. You present solutions. You don't exhibit arrogance and condemn the journalists. I must also emphasize that this report you have put out, I remember in March of 2016, when I was Deputy Minister for Education, the very people who are condemning the media today made it a point to go and highlight shortcomings in the education sector. I remember the then vice presidential candidate. It was very publicized when he went to a school called Perisi Basic School, and he later went to donate furniture.
Okay.
They did a lot of furniture politics. So how is it that suddenly that should not be highlighted? You were highlighting it when you were in opposition. Now you are condemning the media for highlighting.
But this challenge that we're highlighting today has been there for a long time now.
Yes.
Even when you were Deputy Minister of Education.
Yes.
Why are we still dealing? Why was it not faced during your time? Why we still have to dealing with this?
Yes.
till today?
You see, so that's why we came up with the School Under Trees policy. And I recall that we did a rapid program that cleared about 3,000 of these schools under trees. We also had an intervention that supplied furniture, free furniture for the schools. But what happens is that they will break down, they will not be replaced, they will not be repaired, and then sometimes schools are awarded on contract without furnishing. So schools are completed and they are now waiting for furniture. What we then identified really, which is the crux of the matter, is that we must decentralize education. So I recall that President Mahama set up an interministerial decentralization committee, and we were on the verge, very much on the cusp, of decentralizing health and education. Okay. Unfortunately, that work has not continued. I can tell you that if we do not decentralize education, where we empower the district education director, where he or she can prepare their budget, they know their needs. I have about 200 schools in my district. 50 of them don't have furniture. This is my budget. These are my priorities. You sit in Accra at the center. You say you are going to do free tablets for all secondary school students. When you have this challenge, you can provide food to your free SHS program, and then your basic education is in crisis. You say you are going to distribute tablets, which is not budgeted for, by the way. As a member of parliament, I haven't seen any allocation in the 2023 budget for that. Okay. So it tells me that lost, priority, totally misplaced. Okay. We should decentralize education, empower the district education directorate. That is why if you come to my district, I can conclude with a personal practical example. I have established what I call the Furniture and Footwear Bank. So we are not waiting for the central government. Okay. So we mobilize our own resources, local carpenters, and then we store furniture. So anytime we get a call, emergency, this school, we need 20 pieces of furniture, 50 pieces of furniture, or footwear. We don't want to see children going to school barefooted. Okay. We immediately, will call the team leader.
You must be commended for today, because we do monitor. Yes. But we have a part 3 of this work, where I would love to hear your views on that work when we air it on Monday. But stay with me, because I'll be picking your last door. Let me go on to Zoom now and speak with the Executive Director of the Institute for Education Studies, Dr. Peter Anti, who says government must step up equitable distribution of education resources. He joins me on Zoom now on latest development in the education sector. Doc, grateful for your time. Should we focus on highlighting the rich and not the poor?
Education is a means by which we are able to bridge the gap of inequality. And therefore, if we continue to tell the story of those who are doing well, we are doing a grave injustice to those who are not doing well. We need to push and tell the stories of those who are not doing well so that we can get all the help that we need from CSOs, from NGOs, from funding agencies, and so on and so forth, including the government, because we have seen that the government alone cannot do it all. And a typical example is what happened at Bremen Jamra about 5-6 years ago, where up to now, the school is still having challenges with their infrastructure in terms of the classrooms. And we have not had any substantial improvement in the school environment up to now, although the building collapsed and we had a whole national disaster resulting from that. So for me, and looking at my background, and for most of us who have experienced education in rural settings, we can say that not all of us were able to move up after we left the school, because we were not exposed to the basic quality variables that every student enjoys in the urban setting. So it is a good thing that Joy is doing. We should encourage them, and authorities should pick a cue from this and use this in their planning. And at the end of the day, they can boast and say that when we came, there were this number of schools in this particular region. By the time we were leaving office, or by the time we are going for this lesson, we have been able to reduce this number to that number. And by doing that, we are empowering a lot of young people who would not have had access to quality education. That should be the focus of anybody who thinks about the future of this country. We cannot continue to have people studying in these kind of structures, sitting on the floor, and we just experienced a disaster. 8 students in their quest to experience education have to die. The nation is quiet. We are not talking about it because it's normal for us. How many more of these children do we want to die before we start distributing our resources equitably to ensure that those who do not have are given the opportunity to experience the good education that our wards and our children are enjoying in Accra and other urban cities?
All right. Grateful that you could join us here. Let me just take the way forward from you, Honorable Kojo Ablakwa. What must we do? You've been there before.
So let's decentralize education. Let's empower the district education directorates, give them the resources. Let's stop pretending at the center that sitting in Accra, we know what is happening all across the country. Number 2, it is important for local community leaders to also be proactive, like we have done with our Furniture and Footwear Bank in Northtown. The education directorates, the DCEs, the assemblymen, they can show some more proactiveness, including members of parliament, so that at least they can be, I know that the taxes are not with that category really, but the DCs are getting some resources, the District Assembly Common Fund, and then the MPs get a little, the MPs, Common Fund. I think that if there's proper planning, we can, even at the local community, at least step in. But finally, the Minister of Education, the data is there, the MS data. When you go through the MS data, you should be able to see the shortfalls, where we will need furniture. And instead of highfalutin ideas of tablets for every secondary school student, let's get to the basics. Because you see, education is not just about passing exams. It's also building confidence, teaching people how to live, how to be decent. When you have little girls lie on the floor, writing on the floor, how will such a child grow? What will be the confidence level? And it's right from the word go. You are teaching that child to grow up in indignity and not to see him or herself as a proper human being. And so it's really a shame and very depressing, and we must end this. We must end it in our lifetime.
Grateful. So that's the words of former Deputy Minister of Education there. Now, moving on to other stories. Concerned Second-Hand Dealers Association of Ghana are protesting the possible ban on importation of used electrical appliances into the country by Energy Commission. President of the association, Daniel Asare, says if that happens, over 100,000 people will lose their jobs, thereby increasing the unemployment rate. He says since the Commission announced plans to ban the importation of second-hand electrical appliances, they have had several meetings with the Commission to rescind its decision, but to no avail. Members of the association on Wednesday closed down all shops in protest of the decision. The president of the Ghana Union of Traders Association, Dr. Joseph Obeng, says this will not work. He joins us on Zoom for more. Doc, grateful for your time. Why do you say this won't work?
Yeah, because we have to use scientific methods to determine what is good and what is bad. The fact that a product does not make it whole, does not make it good, and the fact that goods are old or second-hand does not make it bad. And so we are calling on the Energy Commission to use scientific means, that's standards and regulations, to sort out what is deemed good or bad, rather than just simply saying that once a goods imported is used one or old, it means that it's unwholesome for use. That one is not acceptable. And that's why we are calling on the engagement that we're doing. I think we are not done with. And we are using this opportunity to, as a matter of urgency, call on Energy Commission to sit down with the second-hand electrical appliance dealers to sort out these issues.
But Dr. Bain, we've all been aware to this over the years that there's this research that indicates that Africa is becoming the dumping ground of the Western world, and we're being exposed to a lot of hazards because of that. Won't that be a major factor you need to consider and see how this can work out, rather than say we'll not allow it to work, even though it's affecting all of us?
No, that's why we are saying that we have to use regulations and standards to sort that out. So those that are unwanted are flushed out, and they are not even allowed to come in the first place. But it should be determined by a new or old, because some new appliances may be even worse than what it is termed the old appliances. And you know that this business of second-hand can never be done with, not even in the advanced nations. You go to the advanced nations, people trade off their goods, and who buy those traded off items? It is bought by the same people in those countries. Cars that are used by rich people are sold to other people who cannot afford the new. And it happens everywhere. Even when you go to Turkey and all that, basic necessities like cooking utensils, like home use and all that are all being imported. But for you to determine what should come in, you use science, regulations, and standards to sort out that these are not to be allowed to be imported. But when you simply say that because an item is slightly used, maybe so maybe some of them is about 6 months use.
I'm grateful to you. Let me bring in now Hubert Nsozan, who is the Assistant Manager in charge of Energy Efficiency Enforcement with the Energy Commission. He joins us now with more. Grateful for your time, sir. What is informing the decision to ban these appliances that has resulted in this disagreement?
Right. So thank you very much for the opportunity, and good evening to your cherished listeners and to my good friend, Dr. Bing. So the position of the Energy Commission is just clearly executing its mandate, which is to protect and secure the energy use for general appliances that are coming in. I mean, you would bear with me that these used products are basically energy guzzlers. And when we say energy guzzlers, it is not just the idea of an appliance being able to consume power, but over time, clearly the use and the consumption of these appliances will be much more higher. You know, so there's what we call depreciation, and you can see all this all over, that most of these appliances that we have found in the market have environmental implication, they have hazardous implication as well. And for the Energy Commission, we are looking at how these appliances are consuming so much and affecting our grid. And this goes way into even economic, you know, part of it. how much it will cost us to build more power plants to meet these high energy demands that are coming in. And so the Energy Commission basically intends to transform the appliance market. And when we talk about the appliance market, I was glad Dr. Bing rightly mentioned that regulations is the key. You need regulations to be able to solve this. And so what we are doing is not just to say we have wholesale banned appliances, but we are setting up what we call the minimum energy performance of these appliances as well. So what the Energy Commission has done is to come up with what we call standards and labeling. And so all importers who deal in products, electrical products covered under this regulation, are supposed to meet what we call the minimum energy performance. On the other hand, there is an omnibus ban on these used products. Now, to be scientific, we don't want to say that, and that's the argument that we are hearing, that the used product is more efficient than a brand new one. I will somehow concede because that is only possible when you don't have standards in your country. And so you can have people bringing in brand new but inefficient appliances. So what we are just doing is to protect the consumer. We know that businessmen are in the system, they want to do business, but you have to do genuine business. You have to bring products that will meet what we call the minimum energy performance. And so if these dealers who bring in used products think that after the usage in Europe, which has exhausted its lifespan, will still meet the minimum energy performance of the Energy Commission. Or of Ghana,
but you rightly said earlier that some people are able to bring in appliances, although new, but are still, they do not match up to what the standards are. So why the linear focus on the people who are trying to bring in slightly used appliances?
For point of correction, so what we are trying to do is not just to focus on the used appliances. Okay. Now, what you saw is Parliament has approved the energy efficiency standards and labeling, which looks at the brand new products coming in and then the used ones. So it's a double-edged sword we are using. Anyone who deals in brand new products will have to meet the minimum energy performance. For the used ones, they are banned. If you challenge the decision that your used product is more efficient, then you have to submit per the new regulations, which is provide us with technical documentation to show that these products...
Then again, do you have a period within which an appliance must be used outside of the country of Ghana to then describe that appliance as a second-hand appliance such that it is banned from being imported into the country?
So the focus basically is when you do that, you open the floodgates. What we should focus on is there is a minimum energy performance for appliances that come into the country. And so whoever is importing into the country must meet this minimum energy performance. And that is what we are telling importers to be aware of. The idea of trying to do trade, which is not genuine trade, goes way beyond making profits. We have the mandate to also protect the consumers. We have the mandate. And when it comes to consumers, I am a consumer, you are a consumer. It doesn't matter if I work with the Energy Commission or not. And we have had incidents where brand new products were asked to be reshipped because they didn't meet the minimum performance set by Parliament on refrigerators.
Okay.
So we have upscaled this by including other appliances. And we think that is the way to go.
Okay. But since there's a market for it, how was your consultation done such that we are at this point when the bill has been passed, but we have traders whose lives are being affected by this decision saying that we won't allow it?
I don't think it's a matter of people saying we won't allow it, because I just cite an example. If somebody is producing medical drugs, will they say that they don't want the Food and Drugs Authority to come and check whether these drugs meet what the minimum requirement is? And the argument is that because they are going to employ people so they can sell any drugs in the country. It's the same that comes to appliances. There is a minimum requirement that Ghana has said that we want this to meet our minimum requirement before it comes into the country.
Okay. When does this new policy take effect?
So as we speak, the law has been gazetted. It's effective November 2022. However, Parliament in its wisdom has given a 1-year moratorium for us to be able to enforce that. And so the advice to importers is that people who deal in electrical appliances covered under the regulation must make sure that the products coming into the country, they submit what we call the technical documentation. A test can be done with the Ghana Standards Authority, whom we are working closely with. We also work very closely with customs to be able to enforce this regulation.
Okay.
My brother, I think Ghana deserves better.
Okay.
There is good reason to do trade, but you have to trade with equipment that Ghanaians can use and also save some money in their pockets.
All right.
And not waste
I'm grateful.
the little that they have.
I'm grateful Hubert Zan is with the Energy Commission for speaking to us. Still to come here, deep cracks within the opposition NDC front in Parliament, with at least 60 minority MPs asking its leadership to overturn decisions to change Haruna Idrisu and 2 others from the minority leadership. We have details. Welcome back from the break. Now, Joy News can confirm that at least 60 NDC MPs have appended their signatures to a petition seeking a reversal of the decision to remove Haruna Idrisu, James Kluche Aveji, and Muntaka Mubarak from the party's leadership in the House. The NDC has named Dr. Casey Alatoforsen as the new leader of the minority, but ahead of a crucial minority caucus meeting on Thursday, the party is racing against time to achieve party unity in Parliament. Parliamentary Affairs correspondent Kweku Asante has his ears and eyes on the ground and has some information to share. Now, Kweku, what are we learning about this petition? Which names are signing on and what are the issues?
So, Brace, the chasm keeps deepening on the front of the NDC in Parliament, both within and outside. There are still some rancor as to whether or not the decision by the party to name a new leadership of Dr. Casey Alatoforsen, Gavin Kwame Agboja, and Emmanuel Kofi-Boa will stay or not. As of this evening, the number has increased from 60 to about 65. So there are about 65 NDC MPs who are signing on to this petition, requesting the party leadership to broaden and deepen consultation before confirming Dr. Casey Alatoforsen or not. Let me read parts of this petition that is being sent to the party. It says that, with all due respect to the party of our leadership, we wish to request that they patiently broaden and deepen consultations on the subject again because we have doubts about how thorough the process was. They say until then, without disregarding the letter signed by the General Secretary of our party and without malice towards our colleagues proposed as new leaders, we, the undersigned NDC members of Parliament, resolve to stand by our current leadership until the process of consultation is satisfactory to all concerned. So they are not only asking the party to review the decision to appoint Casey Alatoforsen and 2 others onto the front bench of the minority. They are also saying that they are not going to respect that. They are going to recognize Haruna Idrisu still as minority leader, Muntaka Mubarak as minority chief whip, and then James Kluche Aveji as the deputy minority leader. Some of the names are senior NDC MPs, some of the very popular and key figures in Parliament: Al-Hassan Suhini, Dr. Dominic Kaine, Ernest Nogbe, Eric Opoku, Yusuf Suleimana, Sam George, Sam Sinahi, Ibrahim Mutala Mohammed, Edward Bauer, ABA Husseini, Colin Zauda, Thomas Abdemnyako, and also Isaac Adongo, who has been touted by the party as the one expected to succeed Dr. Casey Alatoforsen as the ranking member on the finance committee. So the deepening cracks on the front of the minorities widened in such a way that around 65 have appended their signatures seeking a reversal of this decision. Embrace, just before we came on air, our understanding is that another group of about 40 NDC MPs, and the numbers keep growing, have also appended their signature to another petition seeking to endorse the decision of the party to name Casey Alatoforsen and the 2 others to lead the party. So deep cracks within the NDC in Parliament ahead of that meeting tomorrow.
Now, we also know a caucus meeting, like you alluded to, is expected tomorrow on this particular matter. Tell us more about that particular meeting.
So, Brace, what we understand now is that it's at this meeting that both sides of the aisle, both sides of the NDC minority caucus will be expected to make their representations as to why the party must accept their viewpoint. The party, as we understand now, is dead set on maintaining the decision they've taken. They do not intend to go back and name Haruna Idrisu, Muntaka Mubarak, and James Abeji to be back on the minority leadership. They said that decision that they've taken is final. But what we expect tomorrow to happen is that all the MPs are going to come back from their various constituencies to come and listen to the party leadership as to what exactly triggered this decision. It is at this meeting that these representations will be made, especially by these 60 to 65 MPs who want Haruna Idrisu to be reinstated pending broader consultation. They'll be making their viewpoints to the party for the party to reconsider. But what we expect is that the party is not going to budge in terms of overturn the decisions they've already taken place.
Okay, grateful to you, Kwekwasan, to keep monitoring for us. Now, to other stories now, and the Fair Wages and Salaries Commission has served notice. It will crack the whip on institutional heads who fail to eliminate ghost names from their payroll as it begins sanitization of public sector workers' payroll. Chief Executive Officer of the Commission, Ben Arthur, says as the 30% base pay increment on the single spine salary structure takes effect, it's imperative that government also get value for its money. Hence, the Commission will be demanding a performance assessment.
But aside what you know us for, we also have other mandates that we haven't exercised too well in times past. That this year we want to also focus on that. And that has to do with payroll monitoring. We want to be sure that this year all public sector institutions that are receiving their pay directly or indirectly from government subvention will take first steps to sanitize their payroll. And that is to say that, the ghosts yes, we want to make sure that the ghost names belong to the cemetery on the payroll. The payroll has two chambers, where the living must be and where the dead or the ghost must be. There are people who are deserving of certain allowances that through administrative errors and the rest are not benefiting. Through the payroll monitoring, we want to ensure that they are benefiting. There are others who are not deserving of certain allowances that they enjoy. And I want to give you a key example. It is possible that you are being given a vehicle maintenance allowance. Possibly you have sold the vehicle to another person. You no longer own the vehicle, and yet that stays on our books. So we want to be sure that we'll sanitize the system. But let me take this opportunity to appeal to heads of all public sector institutions that even before fair wages comes to you, try as much as possible to sanitize your payroll because it's of cost to the state.
Now, 39 students of Krobi Asante Technical and Vocational Institute accused of involvement in Sunday's disturbances on campus have been remanded to 1 week in juvenile custody. This is to allow police further time for investigation into the students' vandalism. The court, presided over by His Worship Samuel Boabing Kwanzaa, refused bail requests by counsel for the juveniles and young offenders. The counsel for the students argued most of them are innocent of the charges. Nane Aljima was at the Asokore Mampon District Court and filed this report.
The students came in two buses, one owned by the Asokore Amedia SHS and the other of Efijase SHS. 27 of the 39 present in the court are juveniles, with the others being young offenders. Throughout the time spent in the bus under police protection, they remained quiet and calm. The students came into court just as they were arrested. Some walked barefoot. The accused persons have been charged with conspiracy to commit a crime, to wit, unlawful entry, causing unlawful damage and stealing. Head of Legal and Prosecution at Ashanti Regional Police Command, ACP Kofi Blagoji, says the police are pursuing other suspects.
We are pursuing other persons who are connected to the offense.
How many are you looking at?
No, right now we can't indicate a number, but we are pursuing them. There's a warning to all the students that they should complement the government's effort. Yes, the government is spending so much in the SHS, and so they can't pay the government back by this mayhem, this vandalism. No, it's wrong.
Per the fact sheet, police had a distress call after midnight on Sunday. The students, after citing the police, pelted them with stones despite warning shots from the police. It took reinforcement for the police to calm the situation. The police managed to arrest 39 of the students, though electricity to the campus was cut. The 3 lawyers of the students mounted a strong defense for them, insisting most of them are innocent of the charges. They claim some of the students were arrested in their beds. Daniel Kwame Boateng is one of the legal representatives.
When an issue that has this public character occurs, the police normally will embark on a soup. And so therefore, whoever is caught by their net, they will further investigate into the matter. So that is what exactly has happened. So the police embarked on a soup, and these people were unfortunate to be part of the persons that have been arrested.
The court believes it was premature for the students to be granted bail, but requested that they are taken into juvenile custody. Kwabena Jemfi is one of the lawyers.
We did our best. The court feels the application is premature as investigations are ongoing. It's adjourned the matter to the 2nd of February. And so when it comes the next February, and at this time, let me sound a word of caution here, that is too premature for us to visit the merits of the case.
The violent protests over poor examination results resulted in vandalism of 6 vehicles and other school property. For Joy News, Nanaya Ojima, Kumasi.
You're still watching Joy News Prime. We'll take a quick break here. We'll bring you showbiz afterwards.